Breaking tonight, new fallout from former DNC chair Donna Brazil's bombshell book on the 2016 election. And she has not stopped talking since. She says that less than 2 months before the election, she seriously considered that she might have to replace Hillary Clinton because of her illnesses. And she saw her faint at the 9/11 ceremony. Then you've got at the other side of the aisle another political dynasty that is seemingly, perhaps, coming to an end because they are not aligned with the GOP presidency of President Trump. And George W. Bush says he fears that he could be the last Republican president. Joining me now, Mark Updegrove of the author of that new book, The Last Republicans Inside the Extraordinary Relationship Between George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush. Mark, good to have you here tonight. I mean, they are extraordinary men, and they have given an enormous service to this country in so many ways, from 9/11 all the way back to World War II. But it is interesting, that they are as such reserved people that they are really so outspoken and so against this presidency. Well,
I want to be clear that the revelations in my book, what they said about Donald Trump in my book was when he was a presidential candidate, not when he was president. I think that's an important distinction.
But they didn't take it back.
They didn't take it back, but by the same token, that's truly how they felt back in 2016. But I think it's very important to note that because they would not be critical of a sitting president, Democrat or Republican. I think they respect the dignity of the office, and they wouldn't have compromised the president in that way.
But, I mean, President Bush has recently spoken out about sort of the tenor of our politics, and he's spoken in veiled terms, but I think a lot of people interpret it as a bit of a slam against this. And they're such hugely different types of people. I mean, I think they just grate on each other. I think they're like oil and water, right? Or oil and vinegar.
I think the Bushes are emblems of decency, humility, civility, the greater good. And I think that is very much in contrast in many respects with what we see from Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, there's the sort of other side of it in terms of the economy, in terms of what's happened in the world. And, they're also seen by very conservative members of the Republican Party as big spenders, people who sort of allowed spending to get out of control in Washington. So, politically, they're at odds with what GOP voters appear to want now.
I think that's absolutely right. And the Bushes certainly respect the process. And in many ways, it's a repudiation of the kind of republicanism that they symbolized and implemented as president. You're absolutely right. But I do think that there are shifts in any party. Parties evolve, just as the country evolves. And in some ways, this party has to define what it is in the Trump era.
Very interesting. We look forward to the book. Mark, thank you very much for talking with us tonight. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.